The mind is the limit. As long as the mind can envision the fact that you can do something, you can do it. A very warm evening to everyone gathered here. This is a great evening for all of us present here to watch and discuss the various shortlisted films by shining a light to the public about mental illness and portraying a positive and realistic version of it. It is with great happiness that I stand here to welcome all of you to the wonderful event, Frame of Mind 2023. For some of the new people who's attending the event for the first time, like me, let's have a gist about the event. Frame of Mind is an innovative attempt by SCARF, a non-governmental organization working in the field of mental health for over 25 years to promote health attitudes and increase awareness about mental illness and related issues. The primary aim of the Frame of Mind is to counter the stereotypes and cliched portrayals of mental illness in movies and to promote positive and realistic depictions. To create awareness, we bring forward a series of short films on various themes related to mental health. We have introduced 2 themes this year for the contest. The themes are physical health and mental well-being, relationship and mental well-being. We are going live on our SCARF India YouTube channel for the people who are not able to attend the event physically. Here we have 13 shortlisted films for screening. Before we start, I would like to request you all to turn your phones to silent. Let's sit back and enjoy.
Te veo. Veo que me evitas. Puede que te cueste, pero siempre lo consigues. Te doy todo, todo. ¿Qué hago mal? Dame algo, cualquier cosa. Sí, no sé si perdiste el interés o es que nunca lo tuviste. Y tan solo vivo de ilusiones, idiota. ¿Cómo iba realmente a interesarte? Te conozco, te he visto, a solas, vulnerable. Quiero hacer lo mismo, pero no me lo permites. ¿Qué hago mal? ¿Por qué te pregunto? ¿Acaso me conoces? ¿Me conoce alguien? Algo me falta. Me faltan respuestas. Te halago bastante, quizá demasiado. Tú me lo reclamas, aunque pueda hacerte daño y te lo hago. Claro, no siempre hago bien. No soy perfecta y parece que sin serlo ya no valgo. Y aún así lo intento. Pero si me expreso, tú me anulas como si yo hiciera mal. Y por un momento casi me convences. Infeliz, que sin mí no sabrías quién eres. Que te he dado todo, todo lo que buscabas en mí para arruinarlo sin más. ¿Cómo lo echaste a perder? ¿Cómo lo echaste a perder? Ojalá hubieras podido verte de la forma en que yo te veía. Es eso, ¿no? Dependes de mí para estar bien contigo. De que yo te apoye. Bueno. Vale. Te hace falta alguien que te ayude a conocerte. Pero no soy solo eso. comer, Carmen, por favor. Mira, te voy a contar una historia de cuando éramos más pequeñas. Pero tienes que comer, ¿vale? Cuando éramos más pequeñas, nos íbamos de vacaciones con nuestra familia a un pueblo costero. Era un pueblo muy bonito, con unas casitas blancas y azules, muy marinero. ¿Te acuerdas? Uy. Y justo enfrente de la casa donde pasábamos unos meses había una cafetería. Era una cafetería chiquita, que todas las mañanas desprendía un olor a café y churros. Pero tu momento preferido para ir a la cafetería era por la tarde. Era por la tarde porque era cuando hacían el chocolate y el helado en su punto perfecto. Ni muy frío ni derretido, lo justo para que goteara por los lados y poder pasar la lengua. ¿Y tu sabor favorito? El de menta con chispas de chocolate. Siempre te lo pedías en un cono grande y tenía su motivo, porque más allá del sabor, te gustaba que cuando acababa el helado, siempre se quedaba el sabor a menta mezclado con la galleta. Y siempre, después te acercabas a la barra, te ponías de puntillo y con caritas de cordero le pedías una galletita de esas que ponen con el café al camarero. Y claro, el camarero nunca se negaba y siempre tenías tu galleta. ¿Te acuerdas qué felices éramos con esas cosas tan pequeñitas?
¿Cuándo vamos a ir a tomar helado?
Este verano podíamos ir.
Yo es que quiero ir sola,
Carmen, que yo también quiero helado, ¿eh?
pero yo no quiero ir de vacaciones con una desconocida. Hija. Hija.
Mamá.
Te recuerdo a veces y otras no. Te recuerdo en silencio, cuando grito tu nombre, cuando siento y sin pensar. Te recuerdo vagamente, como el brillo de un cristal. Te recuerdo fugazmente, como cuando una estrella roza el mar. Te recuerdo sin pensar. Y ya no estás. Y ya no estás.
Chao, chao Manu, gracias. Chao, chao, chao. La Cari. Sí, ya. Sí, pará. Espera, espera, no se vayan. Ahí va, última. Ay. Ahí está. Gracias, gracias, gracias. Chao. Tía.
Wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round, round and round. Wheels on the bus goes round and.
നിനക്ക് ഏത് നേരം ഇത് തന്നെയാണോ പണി? എപ്പോ നോക്കിയാലും ഒന്നും ആയില്ല ഇതുവരെ.
ഓ തുടങ്ങി.
അതാ വരുന്ന്.
മതി കളിച്ചത്, ബസ് വരാറായി. സമയായി, വേഗം കഴിക്ക്.
നിനക്ക് ഉപ്പ് ആരെങ്കിലും ഫ്രീ ആയിട്ട് കൊണ്ടുവന്നുണ്ടോ? എന്നും കുറെ ഉപ്പും കലക്കൊണ്ട് വരും.
ഏയ് കുഴപ്പമില്ലല്ലോ, ഇന്ന് കറക്റ്റ് ആണല്ലോ.
എന്നാ നീ കഴിക്കും. ആ കുഞ്ഞിനെങ്കിലും ബാക്കി രുചിയായിട്ട് എന്തെങ്കിലും ഉണ്ടാക്കി കൊടുക്ക്.
ഓ, ഇവിടെ കുഞ്ഞിന്റെ കാര്യം മുഴുവൻ നോക്കുന്നത് നിങ്ങളാണല്ലോ. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് തിന്നിട്ട് അങ്ങ് എണീറ്റ് പോയാ പോരെ? എന്തേലും അറിയണോ?
ഇല്ലടി, ഞാൻ കഞ്ഞിയും വെച്ച് ഇവിടെ ഇരിക്കാം.
ആ, എന്നാ രാത്രിത്തേക്കുള്ള ഭക്ഷണം കൂടി ഉണ്ടാക്കി ഇവിടെ ഇരുന്നോ.
അച്ഛനമ്മയ്ക്ക് ഒരു പാട്ട് പാടിയതാടാ.
ആ അച്ഛനും മറ്റേ മങ്കിയുടെ പാട്ട് പാടി കൊടുക്ക്. അതാവുമ്പോ നിന്റെ അച്ഛന് ചേരും.
പാട്ട് വേണ്ട, ഒരു കുന്തം വേണ്ട.
വാ. ഓ ഇന്നത്തെ ഉറക്കവും പോയി കിട്ടിയെന്നാ തോന്നുന്നു.
നാശങ്ങള് എന്തിനാണോ ഇങ്ങനെ കിടന്ന് ബഹളം വെക്കുന്നത്?
ചിലപ്പോ അവരുടെ ഫുഡിൽ ഉപ്പ് കൂടി കാണും.
Mon temps veut dire que je voulais être une fille quand j'étais petit.
Oui, mais... Oui. Mais on pensait que c'était une passade.
Une passade.
Mm.
Je suis quand même allé voir des psys, non?
Oui, mais... Après, c'était bon.
Non, c'était pas bon, non.
Tu vas pas recommencer avec tes histoires, là, d'électrocution, là, ces trucs-là, là, arrête avec ça.
Thérapie de conversion, maman, de thérapie de conversion.
Arrête, Simon, là, de toujours tout dramatiser.
Ouais, toi, tu préfères oublier, hein, c'est ça?
Bon, écoute, Simon, là, je te
gueule,
demande d'arrêter.
ta gueule, je parle. C'est votre faute, donc maintenant, faut assumer, ok?
Tu trouves pas que t'en rajoutes un peu, là?
Non, vraiment pas, non.
Mais tu te rends compte de ce que tu dis?
Mais je m'en rends compte. Toi, tu te rends compte de ce que t'as fait? Hein? Et toi? Je suis adulte maintenant. Je peux faire ce que je veux. Je peux choisir d'être qui je suis, ok? Donc je demande pas votre avis.
Et alors, pourquoi tu nous parles de tout ça?
Est-ce qu'il est encore temps de me protéger? Je vais avoir besoin de vous. Et... parce que je sais que ça va pas être facile. Donc... est-ce que vous êtes avec moi aujourd'hui ou pas? आर्टिस्ट में एक लगभग एक अज्ञानता सी आ रही है और वो ना बहुत सुपरफिशियल लेवल पे, आर्टिस्ट की नहीं, सारे लोग बहुत एक सुपरफिशियल लेवल पे चीज़ों को देख रहे हैं। उसकी गहराई में जा कर के कोई समझने की कोशिश नहीं कर रहा है कि भाई दरअसल इसके जर्म्स क्या हैं या
I'm Maya, and I'm nothing. I can't do anything right. Hi, Mom. That sound good. Yeah. Okay. What's wrong with me? I'm scared. I'm always a burden. I hate my job. Nobody likes me. No one cares for me. I'm ugly. I'm not worth it.
You're the strongest one over. Thanks for saving me. You are the strongest. And thanks for saving me.
I can do it. I'm the strongest.
Purpose of learning Taekwondo.
Body and mind fitness. Strong will. Building of courage. Helping one another. Excellency. That's why we learn Taekwondo. Halt! Taekwondo!
I still remember those days when I was a kid and my dad used to take me to Taekwondo classes. This continued after we lost you. You always had taught me to be stronger and wiser. Miss you, Dad.
Take one.
One,
Hutch. Hutch.
three,
Hutch.
three, shot.
Hutch.
Four, four.
Hutch. Chariot. Take one. Basagi Kumbe. 7, 8, 1, 9, 2, 3.
Kaixo, itxaso naiz. Orain egunero ibiltzen naiz. Eta denbora daukat, arnas hartzeko, begiratzeko, zuri emateko. Zein astuta nengoen orduan. Mugari gabe. Baina dena aldatu da. Ni aldatu naiz.
Baina zertan gelditu gina, zuk ezen hori sinatu ala.
23 aste bete dituzu haizea. Eta zu bai. Zu jaioko zara.
I am Simon, and I'm a photographer. I love capturing people, nature, and the surrounding. My lens captures all that is colorful around, but leaves dark shadows behind me.
I am Mandira and I am an artist. I love painting people, nature and the surroundings as space. I capture different shades of emotion in life.
Are you alright? What happened?
Nothing's going right. Everything is wrong in my life. Is this going to last forever? I don't have energy for people. I fell out of love with everything. I'm disappointed. I don't understand myself. I can't breathe. I feel all alone. I don't understand myself. The emptiness overshadows everything. It's suffocating. I can't breathe. This is just too much to handle. The pain, the depression, the anxiety. It's just way too much. I just can't handle it. It's getting over my head.
Close your eyes. Breathe in and breathe out. Do you think this will last forever? Do what is good for you, even when you don't like it. Do you think these burdens were your responsibility to care? Feelings and darkness tells you that there's no way out, but the light within you shows the way. Your burden, loneliness, anxiety, depression, fatigue, it's not your way to carry. You're not your pain. The pain will come, the disappointment will come, the sadness will come, but that doesn't mean you'll have to let it destroy you. Choose to be still.
சண்டே கூட ரெஸ்ட் இல்லடி.
I done it. Mama, Mama.
சரி இன்னைக்கு ஒன்று பண்ணலாம். இன்னைக்கு கான் கால் போடலாமா?
See my drawing. How is it?
நிஜமா தான் சொல்கிறேன்.
Mama, see Mama.
ஒரு நிமிஷம் ரெடி. யாலு, don't disturb Mama. Go and show it to Dada. He's a good artist.
I know the good artist. Always fun.
Okay, okay.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Dada,
I did it.
Dada, see my drawing. How is it?
Yeah, ma'am. Yalu, 2 minutes.
Dada, see Dada.
Yalu, it's very nice, okay? Sure. Okay, ma'am.
பிட்டு இந்த டாடா என் டிராயிங்கே பார்க்காம ஓகேன்னு சொல்லுது.
டேய் சும்மா நிறுத்து சரியா?
மம்மா,
ஃபன்
மம்மா,
பண்ணாத.
இப்போ
ஆபீஸ்ல வச்சு மொக்க போடுறது நீதான்.
மம்மா, see மம்மா.
யாழ்னி ஒரு டைம் சொன்னா கேட்க மாட்டியா? மாமாக்கு வேலை இருக்குன்னு சொல்றேன்ல. சும்மா வந்து அத பாரு இத பாருன்னு சொல்லிக்கிட்டு இருக்க. போர் அடிச்சா போய் யூடியூப் பாரு போ. டேய் இங்க வந்து இவள பாருடா. சும்மா தான் அங்க உட்கார்ந்துட்டு இருக்க. சண்டே கூட வீட்ல நிம்மதியா இருக்கு.
Yalu, come here. Don't disturb Mama.
எப்ப பார்த்தாலும் இந்த அம்மாக்கு என்ன திட்டுறதா வேலையா போச்சு. ஏன் பிட்டு? டட்டா, டட்டா, டட்டா see. டட்டா. Bad dada. Always smoking and drinking.
சிந்து, பாப்பா எங்க?
என்ன கேட்டா? வெளிய எங்கயாச்சும் போயிருப்பா போய் பாருங்க.
யாழ்னி, ஏன் வெளியே வந்து நிக்கிற?
I am waiting for Selvi auntie.
செல்வி ஆண்டியா? இன்னைக்கெல்லாம் அவங்க வரமாட்டாங்க.
Why?
இன்னைக்கு சண்டே இல்ல, உன்ன மாதிரியே செல்வி ஆண்டிக்கும் லீவ். நீ ஒழுங்கா உள்ள போ.
அப்ப இன்னைக்கு வர மாட்டாங்களா அவங்களும் பிட்டு? சரி வா நம்ம போலாம். Mama, Dada, why not see my drawing? Mama, Dada, why not see my drawing? Mama, Dada, why not see my drawing? Mama,
எந்திரா.
why not see
டேய்
my
எந்திரா.
என்னாச்சு?
பாப்பா ஏதோ டிராயிங் புக்னு சொல்றா பாரு.
Why not see my drawing? Mama, Dada, why not see my drawing?
டிராயிங். அவ டிராயிங் புக் எங்க?
தோ அங்க இருக்கு.
யாலு.
Mama, Dada, why not see my drawing?
ஏய் சிந்து, இது பாப்பா வரைஞ்சதாடி?
ஆமாடா அவதான் வரைஞ்சிருக்கா.
Why not see my drawing? Mama, Dada,
நைஸ் டைலு.
see my drawing?
அடுத்து ஏன் எல்லாரும் நல்லா இருக்கும்?
Dada,
ஆமால
why not
யாலு.
see my drawing?
என்ன நீ மட்டும் இருக்க?
நீ மார்னிங் அவளை திட்டினல, யார் இது?
இதுவா? செல்வி ஆண்டி.
Mama, Dada, why not see my
ஏன் பாப்பா
drawing?
மட்டும் தனியா இருக்கா?
Mama, Dada, why not see my drawing?
சாரிடா சொல்லு, பாடா ஹெல்ப் பண்ணு.
யாலுமா. யாலு.
யாலு குட்டி.
யாலுமா.
யாலுமா எந்திரிங்க.
யாலு
யாலு.
wake up. யாலுமா.
யாலுமா இங்க பாருங்க, இங்க பாருங்க.
You like it?
My drawing. Mama, Dada, na, Pitu. So nice. Mama, Dada, my drawing is. How was it?
It's
Amazing, da Cello.
¿Quién eres tú? David. Correcto. Muy bien. Estoy perfectamente. David. Ajá, sí, ya sé. Ya sé, sí, 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 sí. Hola, mi niño. Muy bien, gracias a Dios. Mi nombre es Encarnación. Hoy, espérate, ¿qué día es hoy? Es el cumpleaños de alguien. Se me ha olvidado, el cumpleaños de... pues es mi cumpleaños. Ahora tengo 95. Muchos, pero gracias a Dios me conservo bien, que es lo importante. Pues estoy en la universidad, sigo estudiando café con leche y azúcar en el café. Yo estoy estudiando todavía en la universidad. Ver nada, 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 nada. Bueno, sombras a veces sí. A veces sí se ve lo de las sombras, pero no siempre, ¿eh? Me siento muy bien. Muy bien. De salud, muy bien. Sí. ¿Y vosotros? Porque yo pregunto siempre y estoy pendiente de los niños. Mi día perfecto. El recreo, a jugar. Lo que no podía hacer en clase. Venga a jugar. De la muerte. Yo no me he puesto a pensar muy seriamente, porque me pongo a disfrutar de lo que tengo. O sea, de la muerte, pues, unas veces vienen antes, otras veces viene después. No, miedo no tengo, ¿no? Sinceramente no. Pues hijo, no lo sé, pero no siento soledad. Sí, yo no me siento solitaria. Y eso, pues la familia que tengo, a eso me hace feliz. Para ser más feliz. Espérate, pues como el estar en combinación con lo que es ahora, sí. Café con leche. Y azúcar en el café. Café con leche. Y azúcar en el café. 1, 2 y 3. 1, 2 y 3. No estar buscando a ver qué busco para que tener esto, para tener lo otro, no. Yo doy, pero también recibo. Yo, como la estoy viviendo, soy feliz. Me considero feliz.
Aquí estoy, mira.
¿Dónde estás?
Aquí, mira.
Uy, te toco. Uy, qué gracia, sí.
Te voy a dar un abrazo, ¿vale?
Muy bien. Uy, yo encantadísima. Uy, qué preciosos mis niños. Qué preciosos mis niños. Qué preciosos. Uy, qué bien, hijo mío. Qué bien, qué bonito ha sido esto. Muy bonito ha sido esto.
I hope you guys enjoyed the film like we did. And now let's take a 5-minute break for refreshments right outside. We'll catch you back in 5 minutes. Thank you. simple. Yeah, now we move on to the next session, the panel discussion on the web series Paper Rocket, a story that depicts relationships and mental health journey in a different perspective. I hand over the session to Dr. Jaya Sridhar, a senior health media advisor, medical doctor, writer, and an award-winning journalist. Welcome you, ma'am.
Okay, may I invite the panelists to come and join me on stage, please? Dr. Rangarajan, Mrs. Lakshmi Ramakrishnan, Dr. Mangala, Ms. Priyadarshini, Rajkumar. Is Priyadarshini here? Okay, I think we are one panelist short at the moment. She might join us quickly, I think. Yeah. Okay, so it's such a pleasure to be here. It's always been a privilege to be associated with the wonderful work that the Schizophrenia Research Foundation of India has been doing over several decades now, chief among which has been tremendous efforts to raise public awareness about mental health and well-being. Not an easy task, considering particularly in this current age of infodemics, the amount of information and helpful, quote-unquote, helpful advice about good mental health and lifestyle that we see, that we're flooded with through the social media as well as several lifestyle news media reports. So I think the challenge has increased. It's getting compounded every day and we're flooded with too much advice. So wishing SCARF all the energy and good wishes to keep up with the good work of getting evidence-based information out there about mental health. So Frames of Mind is, again, a really important initiative by SCARF, and it's lovely to see a packed hall today. And we're going to have this short panel discussion on a very interesting little Tamil TV series, a 7-part series called, that has an English name called Paper Rocket. Hi, Priyadarshini, welcome. So I don't know, may I see a show of hands as to how many of you have actually seen that web series? Okay, there are a few. But for those of us who are not familiar with the series, it's a 7-part string of stories about 6 major characters who get acquainted with each other through what looks like a group experience sharing session in, again, what appears to look like a health facility. The interactions between the 6 characters are managed by a mental health professional, portrayed very gracefully by Purnima, Mrs. Purnima Bhagiraj. And we have these 6 characters, each with a story of their own, all to do with a traumatic experience that each of them has gone through. The lead character, the protagonist, a young man, very beautifully portrayed by an up-and-coming star. He is suffering from guilt and grief over the loss of a dearly loved parent. He'd lost his mother at a young age, but he's lost his father, someone that he didn't get to spend enough time with, and he's trying to come to terms with that loss. There's another young woman in the group who suffered intense childhood trauma because of sexual abuse by a close relative, with the mother knowing about it and not doing anything about it, but keeping it hidden from the family and from the community out of a misplaced sense of shame. There are 2 characters in the group, each of whom are dealing with terminal illness. One of them has a stage 4 cancer and is undergoing chemotherapy and is dealing with a lot of pain. And there's another character who has a brain tumor, who also has just very little time to live. And then we have a sort of a contentious character, but we're going to discuss that person a lot, I think, in this panel, who is, we're told, going through chronic depression and frequently entertains the thought of taking his own life. So there you have this amazing medley of characters, each with no small problem, all thrown together in a single interaction session with the help of Purnima Bhagiraj in a health facility, and that's how the story unfolds. So pretty soon we realize that the health facility and the mental health professional are sort of eschewed in favor of some self-resolution tactics, such as going on a road trip, which is a panacea for many of us. We love to go on road trips. It sets us free in a sense, but then these characters, without the permission of the mental health professional, on the slide, take this road trip. And as the characters move through the 6 episodes, we find each episode devoted to how each character tells the story of their life and finds resolution in the course of each episode. So it's entertaining. There's some lovely music, beautiful visuals, and good performances by the artists. But the purpose of this panel is to try and explore how mental health, these amazingly complex issues such as grief, trauma, sexual abuse, or tendencies towards taking one's own life, how these incredibly complex issues that SCARF is dealing with every day, how these issues have been understood, researched, portrayed, and how the characters have, are those portrayals authentic? Are they pro-mental health? Is there any confusion? Or, what really should be the alternative if mental health has to be better portrayed in Tamil TV serials and in the movies? So with that rather lengthy introduction, for the benefit of those who haven't seen the series, and I hope you'll go back and see the series after this panel, I'm very pleased to introduce our very distinguished panelists here. And I'll start with Dr. Rangarajan, who's a very well-known psychiatrist of repute, who's been working in Chennai for more than 3 decades, very closely associated with SCARF's wonderful advocacy work to raise public awareness about mental health and well-being. I have on my right a person who needs little introduction, Ms. Lakshmi Ramakrishnan, who's a award-winning film director and actor, whose 4th directorial venture featured in the Indian panorama of the International Film Festival of India in Goa, and whose first directorial venture actually explored mental health in a very, very sensitive way. And she is very well known. She's built up a formidable reputation as a character artist in both Tamil films as well as in Malayalam films, and has won accolades for her work, and a very courageous filmmaker, and one of those very few belonging to a very small club of filmmakers who actually bother to do the research before writing their scripts and sketching out their characters. So she's known for her conceptualization and sensitive portrayal of mental health in her creations. So thank you so much for being with us here today. We have Ms. Priyadarshini Rajkumar, who's a Bharatanatyam artist, who is the main organizer of the Mailai Kapalishwar Temple's annual Vasanta Utsav. Are you doing it again this year? I'm sure you are. And her background is in art and theatre. And her debut, her acting debut was thanks to director K. Balachandar in a Tamil serial called Premi, and she's subsequently gone on to explore the acting medium in both Tamil serials as well as in movies, and showcased her considerable acting talents through a variety of character roles. And she's worked alongside very popular Tamil film actors such as Shiva Karthikeyan, Mr. Vijay Sethupathi. And together with all of these many hats that she dons, she's also passionate about the welfare of women and girls. And she's the secretary of a charitable organization that works to improve educational opportunities for them. So thank you so much for joining us, Ms. Priyadarshini. So, yeah. I'm just going to leave it to her to talk about it. So, and then we also have with us somebody who's been a bit of the pivot around a lot of the activities that you've seen taking place today, and that's Dr. Mangala, who needs very little introduction to this group. She is a consultant psychiatrist with SCARF and also leads the media and communications efforts of SCARF. And what always amazes me about her is the diligence with which she follows how mental health is portrayed not only in the news media, but also in the entertainment media, on television, through stories, fiction writing, as well as in films. And I think it's really important to have scholarship and diligent observation about that, because we now know that that's honestly what shapes our perceptions in a huge, huge way, because not very many of us have the opportunity to directly work with mental health professionals to get an insider view of it. So we draw perceptions from what's out there in the popular portrayal in the media. So with those words about thank you so much, all of us, to all of you for joining us here. So let me start with Dr. Rangarajan, if I may. And what do you think, if you had to sum up the way mental health was portrayed in Paper Rocket, and you had to sum it up in a sentence or two, Dr. Rangarajan, how would you do that?
Hi, good evening, everybody. All these characters are perhaps not what I would normally see in my clinic. I mean, this is not quote-unquote mental illness, serious ones, which we usually see in our, other outpatient or inpatient setup. This is a bunch of people who have mental health issues. I would be very hard-pressed to give a clinical diagnosis to each one of them. If I'm in an exam and I've given these cases to present for my examination, I would fail, because can't give a diagnosis. So they have mental health issues, but like you said, a road trip is an answer for everything. That was a bit of a funny go. I mean, it's good to go on a road trip, but to trivialize some of these issues was like one handshake can solve things. One bit of a slip from a slope can make things okay. It's like how a very, very popular spiritual leader advised beautiful one-step treatment for suicidal ideas. Hold your breath. You just hold your breath. Brilliant. I mean, I wish him well and more breath-holding sessions. Certain things have been trivialized. But on the whole, mental health and communication, talking about what you feel, expressing it, that was wonderful. It really was done as well as possible within the short period of time. When you have so much time available, you take certain liberties. Certain things which would happen, say, in a therapy session over maybe 10 sessions, happens in a road trip. Lovely. Really nice. But that's okay for a movie, right?
Yeah. Thank you. So what you're essentially saying is that can we give that artistic license to say that?
It's okay for a movie. Exactly.
Yes, because it's
absolutely
because it's
nothing wrong with the idea.
Yes.
This is not what we see in the clinic.
In the practice. Sure. So
much more hurt, damaged.
Absolutely. So there's been a bit of a departure from what the scene is really like in the mental health care facility, or the way the characters have been sketched. So this brings us to a really interesting question, which is largely creative, and I think Ms. Ramakrishnan can answer this. So how would you show the passage of time, or the sort of protracted struggle that someone with a mental health condition, such as, for instance, entertaining suicidal thoughts, for instance, which was portrayed in the film, how would you have done it, or how would you get closer to a more realistic portrait in the short format that is available.
First of all, good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for inviting me for this event. It's always a pleasure. And before I answer your question, I love the series. Because nama Tamil cinema so scared to even watch films which deal with or which have characters who are going through a mental health issue, because it's so much of negativity, so much of toxicity, that something like this is so very welcome. For me, the first thing which came to my mind was, oh, it's a lady director, so that's the reason it's been handled in such a sensitive manner. That's what struck me. I'm sorry to say that. Maybe it's a bias, but still, I felt that way. And to answer your question, there are limitations. Like the problem with us is, if we want everything to be factual, the medium is an entertainment medium or something, people expect a certain amount of entertainment or some excitement or an experience when they watch these films or, in this visual media. So you can't be factual. It's a via media, you strike. So I think Kritika had done a wonderful job of putting it together. It gave a very pleasant feeling. Yeah, all of them have problems. All of them go through ups and downs. And as he said, it's a very serious issue which cannot be, you can't have an overnight solution. And it's all very, you say you go on a road trip and all your issues are sorted out. And I didn't look at it that way. I thought, that was probably already they were into counseling sessions, and this was the grand finale. Like, they've already been through 1 year or 1.5 years of, probably group counseling or shared this thing. And then finally, they are in a stage where, they need something more than just that. They want to live enjoy that moment. They want to do things in the bucket list. Probably that is what struck me. I think that was handled very well. This is the only way to handle time. You can't be stretching. If somebody is going through those tough phases, I remember after watching Arohanam, Balu Mahendra sir was weeping. He said, it's been very cruel because you made me go through the emotions of that character, which is not necessary. He told me, you shouldn't do that. When I'm watching a film, you can't put me through the pain. He said, you can't be so factual on screen because it's very cruel. As an audience, I don't want that to happen. So sometimes you want to say, you're so worried that, this could be wrong. This could give a false hope. This could be a wrong information. And then you want everything to be factual. You go and do your research. You talk to experts. And then you say, let me do this. Let me not deviate. Then somewhere you lose that, audience lose that experience. It becomes like a documentary. What is the difference between a documentary and a film? That happens.
So this really leads us to the crux of this panel discussion, which is, where do you have the freedom to depart from evidence around mental health? The science of it or the actual way that mental health conditions play out in the lives of people? Does entertainment media really have the freedom to depart from it to whatever extent to improve the entertainment value of something? And by doing so, what are the outcomes when you're, dealing with public perceptions or public awareness about mental health, Dr. Mangala?
You can take this one. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for asking that question. in 2004, when we had the first panel discussion on media and mental health, which was for the students in the college in the city of Chennai, as part of Icons, Kitty, the actor Kitty, was one of the panelists, and he explained how mental health can be subtly portrayed in films. And he quoted just one scene from the movie Nayagan, where Kamal Hassan comes to the house of the police officer he murders, and there is a mentally retarded kid who just comes and says, "Papa mar gaya." That one scene was enough to convey the message that this child has a problem, and there was no further detailing that was needed there. I think it was a very straight fact that was put across. And when I watched Paper Rocket, I had a similar kind of feeling. Like, these are the common issues that people will come across in their lives, but the thing is, they do not recognize them as mental health issues to begin with. For example, what Tanya Ravichandran's character goes through, what was superficially seen was only the anger. But what she was going through was something that was, it may not be known to people when it happens in real life, right? Child sexual abuse. So I think that way, this was a very nice way of bringing up mental health issues for discussion. It's okay to have mental health issues. I think that was the message I will take from this. It's okay, and you can find ways to deal with it. That was the message that I will take from this. So people can seek help, and taking help and support from people around for mental health issues definitely is the best way to deal with it. And that was a positive message I could take from this web series. But I will still not, I completely agree with Dr. Rangarajan. I think nothing completely changes with a road trip or with that one slip down a hill. And it cannot be that dramatic also. There were a lot of technical flaws in the sense, from the mental health perspective, about the way the group was put together. Those, I think we will come to that later. There were a lot of issues there, but on the whole, I thought it was a good beginning for people to talk about mental health.
So there's a related question. There's a related question I had before I, sort of hand over to Priyadarshini. But when you said that, the road trip, and you talked about these people talking to each other and the importance of interaction and experience sharing and everything, I wondered where the mental health professional really figured in that whole scenario. So at some points in the film, I actually got the impression that it's better to leave the doctor out of everything and the mental health facility out of everything, and just have the patients give each other cognitive behavioral therapy or whatever other terms you can use. So it's like people who are each going through an intense experience, that authenticity of sharing that alone is like a catharsis. But is this something that what is the take-home message from that?
Yeah, I think those kind of things work as a good support system. Beyond that, I don't think it will work independently without other forms of therapy. Again, there are not many diagnosable conditions in this case. So in these kind of situations, maybe the support that they draw from each other might be sufficient. But for instance, the character in the first episode, Chinny Jain's character, with post-stroke, he is highly suicidal. He might be someone who will need more of treatment rather than just therapy alone. And I think there were a few other characters who might have needed medical intervention or other kinds of interventions from the psychiatrist/psychologist, because I didn't get a clarity about what her role was in the film, other than just a group interaction. So some of them might have benefited from other kinds of therapy as well.
I would like to share something probably after she does. Sure. She was talking about subtlety, right? So the child abuse episode, I think that was done so well, because there was not one scene where it was, like graphic. You know, generally these subjects now, they are hot selling subjects. And people, whenever somebody calls me, they say, we have a musicalist, madam, உங்களுக்கு பிடிச்ச subject, child abuse, அதனால நீங்க வந்து பாருங்க. So the thing is, yes, there is a lot of awareness being created and all that, but how you approach the subject, I think Kritika has done a fantastic job of it. Not even a single scene where you show a child going through that, because every time you see that, you go through that experience. Now, why would you want audience to, or the children to go through that experience? That is the subtlety probably Dr. Kitty was speaking about. The thing is, in that particular film, Nayagan, it was not about the child. Oh, the child was there coming in the backstory. But here is a film which is mainly about the trauma the victim is going through, and then she managed to carry it and get it across to the audience without showing it graphically. That is something which she needs to be applauded for, I felt. Thank you.
I'd strongly agree with that, because that was beautifully handled and indirectly portrayed. So there was no like vicarious sort of no voyeuristic element in that. So that was beautifully done, not at all easy. But I'll turn to Priyadarshini now for you played the character where you are the mother of a child who undergoes an accident, a budding swimming star who has a spinal accident and is paralyzed and confined to a wheelchair, and who, again, a scene where she makes up with her father and has like a cathartic sort of moment. That was, again, very beautifully done. So what was it like playing the role of a mother who is supportive to the child, and how did you find that whole episode?
I have been very lucky to be part of that project. Really appreciate and thank Kritika ji for giving me that opportunity. That episode itself is actually something that happens in many households in India, particularly. A very dominant father who is the master of all decisions and who lays a lot of pressure on his child, his wife, etc., child to be a high achiever. And he cannot digest that the child has had this trauma, and he believes that the child has to continuously go through all these treatments to one day walk again. And the child is not able to tolerate that pressure. It's extremely, it comes out in the end. It's what, I don't know, what I like to call, I don't know if this term is okay, but what we say that toxic masculinity. The man loves his family. He loves his family to bits. But he calls his wife a muttal on the dining table in front of his child. You see, this kind of thing, because she doesn't know what she's talking about. And the point that the mother and the child have to collude and secretly send her on this trip. You see, that itself tells a lot, that there is actually a fear of the father. There's whatever, that pressure is there on both of them. So that is a kind of, like what I want to actually say here, when I saw all these characters, I didn't see mentally sick people. I saw real people dealing with situations. And every one of us has had those moments in our life. There is an incomplete. And that incomplete takes you away from everything else in your life. And cannot make you, I mean, you are not active in any part of your normal life. You're basically paralyzed in everything else until that incomplete receives a closure. And that is what this whole movie is about, and this whole web series is about. I enjoyed playing that character and understanding, you know, the subtle nuances of this kind of play. Gauri, at the end, the character Gauri, she has to literally throw herself out of a car for her father to realize that he's actually putting too much pressure. It's a man who loves his child, but he doesn't realize that he's doing this to her. Yeah, I just want to add another thing. I loved technically how there's one statement that Ilakya, the character Ilakya, makes in the beginning, where she says that you can either continue to be in this situation or you can take action and come out of it or do something about it. So these is the two choices. And everywhere, I see the characters are either in blue and red together, colors, showing the two choices. And everywhere something sad happens, it's all blue. And then when there's some positive light, you know, either the psychiatrist or one of the positive or happy characters at that moment is wearing red or yellow or something like that, upright. So the colors also are continuously reminding us that we have these two choices to take things forward.
I didn't notice that.
Do check it out. Yesterday I was watching it and realizing that they've thought a lot about these things.
So that's another interesting take on this, on the serial, because as you pointed out, and Dr. Angarajan also said, are these diagnosable mental illnesses or conditions where that's left open to interpretation? So there's obviously a spectrum of experience there, and we don't really know how to approach that, which makes it even more of a creative challenge, I think, for a director, because you have to know exactly what the evidence is telling you and how, to what extent you can go and fill in details about the mental health aspects of a character. You need to be even more sensitive to that. But Dr. Rangarajan, let me turn to you, because when I watched the character called Tiger, who has a very oppressive mum, who castigates him all the time, and that's the impression that we're given, that part of his depression stems from that kind of an upbringing where the child is not allowed to express himself, and he's gone on to entertain suicidal thoughts, and that's like quite a jump, a leap of faith. We really don't know what else happened in his life that he's continuing to feel that depressed. So I just wondered whether you could throw some light on how that character was portrayed and how the episodes that lead up to a friend, a fellow patient, if you like, in that group therapy session, actually takes him to the top of a mountain and says, okay, go ahead and jump if this is the most beautiful place in the world to take your own life. And he's actually standing there and contemplating that. And then my heart was going thud. Suddenly, Dr. Lakshmi Vijayakumar flew into my brain. And then, is this really wise to take a friend of mine, make him stand on a mountaintop and says, okay, think about it, this is a good place, and go ahead if you like. So what sort of message do you think that sends about dealing with people who have those issues to deal with?
No, definitely. That's an experiment I will not advise anybody to do with any good friend of yours who is very suicidal. Not on. That doesn't work. And believe me, when it doesn't work, you might follow suit. You may be the next one to jump because you can't get over the guilt. So these are things which people talk beautifully. I mean, like for instance, I had a person who had an invalid grandfather. He was bathing him, cleaning him every day. And he was saying, every day the look on my grandfather's eyes would say, amen, kill me, finish me off. I don't want to live like this. Okay, and one day this guy actually smothered him to death with a pillow. And the grandfather died. And this man felt he was liberating his grandfather, was happy about it. He was really, really joyful. But 2 months down the line, this man couldn't sleep. He just could not sleep for the next few years. Every night he gets this idea of this, his grandfather kind of looking at him. Sometimes he thanks him, sometimes he kind of, he is looking at him with, why did you give that pain to me? Why did you smother me? I struggled. This man went through enormous difficulties. You don't really know, isn't it? You don't know how you're going to feel. This is something very intense. While brilliant. I mean, as a movie, this would have been fantastic, isn't it? Taking care of an invalid grandfather, and out of love, you cuddle him, kiss him, and then, put some poison into his mouth and pour some alcohol into his mouth. Hug him, put a pillow on his face. A wonderful movie it will be. I mean, what happens after that? It's like what happens in all our movies, isn't it? சுபம்னு ரெண்டு பேரும் கல்யாணம் பண்ணிப்பாங்க, அதுக்கப்புறமா தானே ப்ராப்ளமே இருக்குது, அதனோட முடிச்சுட்டு போகிற மாதிரி இருக்கு. அந்த மாதிரி தான் இது. These are not things which I will advise anybody. As far as this guy is concerned, with Tiger, the best relationship he had was with Tanya. That was so natural, and they had these quick things for each other. They were going, and I thought that was a nice relationship. That was the first proper relationship this guy had. Not this Kuti Payan. Kuti Payan is, cinematic. So to kind of suddenly make this man think that, okay, somebody can like me. Somewhere he's learned magic tricks or whatever, isn't it? He's been trying to kind of make his connection to society somehow, doing something, gather attention. So it's not as if, and the one-liners, rumba philosophical one-liners. Another one-liner, this what's his name, Kalidas. Kalidas, you terrible one-liners. His problem, he does not have love for himself. One line, completely, absolutely, this enormously therapeutic one-liners, punch dialogues, okay. Or your problem, you're not showing your anger to the person whom you really got to show your anger to. Ta-dang, suddenly light. Ivla varshama area the light dhaan eriyude.
He's driving the vehicle, he's driving the whole therapy.
Yeah. So all these things are, please not to be tried. Do not try and interpret somebody's trauma so easily. This is not easy. It needs to be handled very sensitively, very, very slowly. I mean, I don't know how many psychiatrists actually are really capable of handling that too. I mean, I'm not saying that psychiatrists know everything. Not everybody has got the training or, the technique to do this.
Go back to Priyadarshini with the way the episode around Unni was sort of taken forward. So this is a character who has a brain tumor and who has very little time to live. And his wish on that road trip is to go and meet a girlfriend that he was in love with in school, who's now happily married and living with her husband, but he just wants to take her out on a date and have a cup of tea with her and resolve. That's his wish before he dies. So that's what he wants to do. And that was like very beautifully and sensitively portrayed. But can you, share what you felt when you saw that? And I know Lakshmi also wants to say something about it. Yeah, I think I must confess that at one spot when my eyes became a little moist is when he pulls out a sari. I mean, what was like a friendly date between two school-going children who had a crush on each other. Suddenly when he takes her back to her husband's house and he's climbing those steps, he shyly pulls out a sari and that romantic element comes in. That's when her heart breaks and she puts her arms around him, see? That point, I must confess, I was a little teary, but what do you think about the way that that whole characterization and that episode was, sort of narrated?
See, almost like a couple of characters, not just Unni, even Kalidas. He's lost in his own life. He's lost in his work life, his whatever is going on until the trauma happens. And then all of a sudden, they want to complete something that is something where they find they need that closure on something because they know that time is limited or time has passed. So Kalidas's closure is he's taking all these people out and fulfilling their dreams or their whatever they need to have closure on. And Unni is one of he realizes he has a tumor. This thing, as he's falling, he sees the face of this one person that he really liked. And he just wants to go see her because he's got little time. And I love the play between Karunakaran's character, Tiger, and Unni, where he's continuously taunting him that her husband's going to thulp him and beat him. But he takes tremendous courage to go out and fulfill this dream. And it was an extremely cute episode because it was not cliched in the usual way. Although it looked like he was getting upset in the beginning, the husband, about, oh, you come to see, are you sure you're dying? Like you're not going to run away with my wife and stuff. And then finally, he just allows them to go on this little tea date. It was extremely cutely handled. But I like, yes, happily allows them because he wants his girlfriend to come around.
But his confidence in the relationship between him and his wife
is
that was excellent.
Yes. And I loved also as he leaves, he gets dropped off. And he says, if something should happen to me, don't tell Selvi. That was really beautiful because it was his closure and he didn't want her to suffer the loss of having met him after all this time. It was very beautifully done, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So it's these little moments that actually make the whole viewing of that serial sort of noteworthy and memorable. So I'll give it to Lakshmi to sort of comment on that particular episode. Yeah, and then I want to give it to Dr. Mangala about something else, but first.
Yeah, so I have one question. If Unni was not unwell, will this happen? Will the husband allow? That is one question I had.
He also might not have thought of
Go visiting. Okay. That apart, two things. Dr. Rangarajan was talking about, what's his name? That character, Tiger's episode, and the girl who's been put on wheelchair because of the accident. I think there is some connection. In a way, what I felt was there is a need to make the character a hero. When you make a film, you want the audience to feel that the protagonist in each story is a hero, so you need a villain. So when it came to the girl, the father was made the villain. I don't think it works that way. I personally feel when your child is not well and you're going through a trauma crisis as a family, there are ups and downs. However strict, however domineering you are, there are times when you really, try to understand your child's wish, you try to understand your child's point of view. The parents are not villains. Parents are not, always, it is not always black and white, right? So sometimes when the child tells you, there is one dialogue where the girl says, when I met with the accident, I had to console everybody else. Nobody was consoling me. That's sometimes it's a slip up. Parents don't think that way. They get so lost in their sorrow that they fail to understand that. So that complexity was not coming through. The father was a very domineering person. His emotional upheavals was not portrayed. But then at one point of time, there is a realization when the child jumps out of. So that complexity, and the way when there is a crisis, the family needs counseling, the caregivers, the people around the girl also need counseling, right, ma'am? So their mental health is so important because they need to give that positivity to the child. So the parents, I went through it. Last 8 months, we have gone through a very similar situation. With God's grace, Shreya is back to 80% back to normal, but we are still not out of the woods. One fine day, our child was completely on bed because of a post-COVID complication. She had a surgery and her body reacted very badly to the surgery. Till now, we don't have a confirmed diagnosis. But what we went through as a parent, sometimes you don't realize she's in a peak of her life and we were actually looking out for her, for an alliance. That is when suddenly this blow came up. So then the child, she sometimes comes and asks me, Amma, you don't know how to, you just want your child to be back to normal. Whereas there's so much of uncertainty. I don't have words to explain what a parent also goes through. But when they come back and tell you something, there are times when Shreya has told me that. She said, Amma, it's not that I have to console you. That's when it strikes you. No. We want everything. As parents, we want the best for our child. We'll go through any suffering. We can't see our children suffering. That is one thing. Same way with that Tigers episode, there had to be heroism. Kalidas had to be made a hero. So when you were asking that question, how far can you take that license? This is something which somebody is going to try. It could be fatal. So that is not the license we can take, right? So it's a very thin line, very, very difficult area to tread. Because when you deal with these issues, you don't know, we are not professionals. So we don't know how far you can take that license. But having said that, the way mental health and mental health issues or positive mental health is handled in cinema, this is something which has to be applauded and which has to be celebrated. And kudos and big applause to Kritika.
Thank you for those very beautiful points, because the complexity of the characters and the importance of the filmmaker having to show that and not make them out to be cardboard characters or one-sided. And again, that conflict that you have to make someone a hero or someone a villain, which essentially falls into a cardboard character again, in order to depict the shades of feeling in another character. All of these are creative challenges, I feel, which brings me to the question I wanted to ask Dr. Mangla, which is one of the most ignored characters in the whole serial was that of Mrs. Purnima Bhagiraj. So can you throw some light on her character? I mean, we are lay folks in a sense, except for Dr. Rangarajan, but what was she doing in the serial?
Yeah, I think I have my own confusion about that. I am not sure if she was a psychiatrist or a psychologist, and I won't say her character was given much importance in the film, because there was nothing much that she was doing except that she became very flustered when things didn't go the way she had envisioned it. So I think in connection with what you are asking, I think we can clarify a few things about what really happens there. In the strict sense, those sessions cannot be called group therapy. There was a group of people with diverse issues and diverse problems who were sitting together and interacting with each other. Probably they were just interacting, because I think technically a group therapy session has to be a little more homogeneous with similar issues, and not everyone can share everything that they want to say in the group. Yes, yes, yeah. Yes.
So what you're saying is if it was a proper group therapy session, then the filmmaker should have paid attention to that accepted practice in current
the group was very diverse in gender, age, the problems that they were having. But it was an interesting take on how peer support can actually help each other, because peer support is something that is coming up in a big way. Even SCARF is working on peer support at the moment. So that would be it was a nice take on peer support. I mean, we can't actually technically call them peers as well, except that they are all in the same building, in the same facility. Again, I was not sure if all of them were inpatients or people who were just coming in for therapy. Some of those areas were not very clear. Maybe they were not needed for the story to move along, so which was why those things could have been skipped. And about the therapy sessions, I think it was nice that people were coming out and talking in the open about their issues, but what was very noticeable was none of them were actually sharing what they were going through. They were only willing to talk about things to each other in general. I don't think that girl with anger issues was willing to come and talk about her child sexual abuse in that group. And I think that is a common thing we face even with patients with OCD. I think Rangarajan can talk about that. And even persons with schizophrenia, they are willing to talk about common problems, like if they have cognitive issues, if they have problems with memory, problems with having a structure in their daily life, those kind of issues, if it is coming up as a group session, they are willing to discuss it in a group. But talking about their own delusions or their psychotic experiences, many of them are not very willing. No? So that is still, people prefer a one-on-one therapy rather than a group session.
I wanted to ask Dr. Rangarajan if you want to add on to that. Yeah, maybe this mic is
The mental health professional was not needed. The idea was the mental health professional and that setup has not done much to this bunch of people. And therefore, this road trip, and therefore, what's his name, Kalidas, takes care of everything. He does it very well. And that is a message which comes through. Well, I mean, again, that character was, what do you call it, assuaging his guilt. He hadn't taken his father on the road trip. So he takes a bunch of people who want to go and said, let's have this road trip. So it's therapeutic for him. And in the process, he helped people there. So the psychology, the mental health professional was actually, you don't have to have anything there. The idea is, didn't do much. That's okay. Mental health professional எல்லாம் அப்படியே ஆல் பவர்ஃபுல்லாக எல்லாம் தெரிஞ்சு கரெக்டாக பண்ணணும்னு கிடையாது. வெத்தாவும் இருக்கலாம், தப்பே இல்லை. I mean, as long as you don't make the mental health issues with it. I mean, you cannot trivialize the mental health issues. You can trivialize a psychiatrist. So what? When you can trivialize a politician or a policeman or a judge as a corrupt person and all that, why not have a stupid psychiatrist also? That's not a problem. Or let's say, ineffective psychiatrist, untrained psychiatrist who does not know how to run a group, who probably does not know how to run a mental health facility, who perhaps has people admitted, does not have enough security posted to make sure they don't go away. I mean, it's a major problem. The facility can be shut down. If a bunch of people goes, she might lose her license. There are issues which are really terrible. So maybe she has not been... Censor. No. There's nothing wrong. I'm just tongue in cheek. I said, paravailla, that doesn't matter. The idea, like you all said, the mental health matter, the factor that they're all people with some kind of a trauma, some kind of a difficulty, something which is preventing them from being happy and enjoy life, that kind of a thing. And they can talk about it the moment they share, and each one kind of tries to help each other. It's good, isn't it? And that way it's good. I mean, even though it was a Sava Vandi, nobody really died in the Vandi.
Thankfully. So my related comment, I'll come back to you, Priya, in a minute. So my rejoinder to your rejoinder about it's okay to depict a mental health professional as being inept or, not really of much use in a situation like this. But I wondered what is the creative responsibility of a director or a filmmaker in the current mental health scenario in India and globally, where there's renewed attention to mental health, and there's a huge effort on the part of the WHO and organizations like SCARF to try and change the picture of mental health, destigmatize it, detrivialize it, and to say that it's as important and valid, you should validate your condition and acknowledge it, and you have solid, these are all treatable conditions. They're all treatable conditions with good care. So in this context, when people are struggling to sort of correct the image that people have of mental health professionals. I mean, gone are the days when the so-called Paityakara doctor in the Tamil film was himself portrayed as slightly, not all there. So we've come a long way from there, but to almost come back to that starting point with this serial, in this context, I mean, I was just wanting to throw it out to every one of you. What should we do? I mean, what should a creative person do if they want to really put mental health back in the minds of people as something that is not to be trivialized or made fun of or, dealt with facilely, but that mental health conditions are diagnosable, treatable, and we have an excellent network of professionals and facilities in the country that can do it, and we need to do it now. We have a huge youth population with so much pressure. We're just recovering from the vagaries of a pandemic. so much of grief and loss, and there's an economic recession going on, there's intense pressure that all of us feel. So at this time, what do you think are the responsibilities of a creative person? I'll start with Lakshmi and pass the mic around. And how should a filmmaker research their films? Like moving forward, how do you construct your narratives to be more evidence-based, sensitive, and entertaining at the same time? So maybe we'll go from Lakshmi to Dr. Mangala, and then to Priya, and then we'll finish with Dr. Rangarajan.
Sure. Because that's all we have time. Yes. So I feel this field in particular is self-regulatory. And it comes from the people who are behind the camera, the writers, the filmmakers, or even media people. In my case, I think events like this, participating in events like this, my first short film was a special jury, won a special jury mention in Frame of Mind. So every time I attended this event, it sensitized me. Being a aspiring filmmaker, it put that seed into my head that when I make a film, I have to be sensitive about these things. How serious it is. I should not be irresponsible. I cannot make it trivial. So I think that is the intention of these events, right? When you, almost everybody in this room are aware of this particular area. They are knowledgeable, they are interested, they are working on it. But this has to go, this is crossover to the audience. That happens through cinema because it's a very powerful media. So this awareness is what is needed, I feel. And automatically when that awareness, that thing is created, filmmakers will take effort. For example, today, when you make a film, they're very careful about portraying women. Especially, see, I keep forgetting words. Yeah, from what it was, if at least the big filmmakers, the very important filmmakers, they would run the script through a woman, they would want her to read and give her comments, because when it goes up on the screen, they're worried that it's a proper portrayal. அந்த அளவுக்கு ஒரு சின்ன ஒரு awareness create ஆயிருக்கு. அந்த மாதிரி இந்த mental health issues, characters-ஓட அந்த designing பண்ணறது, ஒரு characters design பண்ணும்போது அந்த ஒரு கொஞ்சம் sensitive ஆயிடுதுன்னா, then we automatically do our research. அது என்ன responsibility? இப்போ ஒரு suicidal tendency இருக்கிறது ஒரு character நம்ம portray பண்ணுறோன்னா, what could be the repercussionsங்கிற அந்த ஒரு thought நமக்குள்ள வந்தாச்சுன்னா, automatically we will do our research. And it is always good when we write a script, any film for that matter, need not be something on mental health. Any film, any character design would have something to do with human psychology, right? So especially when you have a psychiatrist or a psychologist in a particular role, it is always better to take expert opinion on the design of the character. That is the maximum we can do. Going behind girls.
Stalking.
Stalking. அது மறந்து போச்சு எனக்கு. Stalking பத்தி படம் எடுத்தா அவ்வளவுதான் இப்போ.
Oh, that's really good news.
That is good. Yeah, people are scared because will this amount to stalking னு கேக்குறாங்க.
Yeah. My answer to your question will be, for a very long time in Tamil cinema, we have seen people with some disability, whether it is there is always a suffering protagonist, whether it is Avaloru Thodrukadai Sujata or Parthiban played a similar role in a movie. And there is a hearing impaired brother, there is a blind sister, or a physically challenged kid, there is a mentally retarded relative. So all these disabilities are portrayed as only burdensome to the protagonist in the movies, and it has never been accepted as a normal part of life. That way, I think mental health issues can be commonplace. They can be part of anybody's life, and life still goes on. It doesn't have to make you stagnate at that point, is one message which I thought this series brought out beautifully. So saying that, it would definitely help if mental health professionals are consulted before a character is considered for a film. More than that, now at SCARF, we have a group called LEAP. No? These are lived experiences persons who advise us on research that is being undertaken at SCARF. I think it would be nice to have that kind of a lived experience panel which can go through some of these storylines or nots and suggest if this is okay to go on screen or if something needs to be changed. That would be a very great beginning for people with mental illnesses to be portrayed in better light on the big screen. But I think in recent times there are too many web series which are, I mean, you read the intro about it, there's a psychological thriller, a psychic killer, you know, this is a word that comes again and again. Actually, it is increasing by the day. That is one issue which still has not been addressed effectively, that mentally ill people are not violent, right?
Thank you. I'm just going to give it to Priya.
What I like to add about this series, which I liked and which is not connected with other series or other films which I've seen about mental health, is that it deals with a very, it's not dealing with mental sickness as such. It's dealing with how regular people can go through those downs and what may help. So in this situation, the doctor, the hospital, everything was just incidental in bringing this group of people together to connect them. And it was new because a lot of people think they don't need counseling and sharing. But what can help them come out of that is talking about the problem that they're going through, whether it be with a counselor or something like that. That came out, and that sharing, and then that led to an adventure. And sometimes that adventure, when you've been stuck in a room looking at the fan, it just brings you alive again. So that can be in some ways remedial. I'm not saying that this film I found that it probably needed just the right amount of research, and it has given it to that. What filmmakers need to do when they are researching complex subjects, like when they're talking about schizophrenia or some other kind of mental illness, is there you really need to sit down and make sure you're giving the facts to people. You can't glaze over these issues when you are properly using them or using that issue in a film. That is a responsibility that they have to take. But this film, I felt, was not in, like you said, because it was not about mental illness as such. Yeah. But you know, what I believe is that every illness, whether it's cancer, whether it's mental illness, it starts off at a very superficial level. And that one incident, if it's not dealt with at the right time, in the right way, it can actually progress and become a deeper and deeper and deeper. And then somebody can become really mentally sick. So if it's dealt at that level, and the message, I believe, is if people are able to communicate and talk and get it out, then they can resolve this without having to get into deeper matters. That's my take on it.
You have the last words, Dr. Nagarajan. What should a filmmaker do before he makes a film, or she makes a tens of?
No, I don't think it's about one film. I think a movie maker should have some reasonable knowledge of whatever field they're going to make a movie about. And perhaps psychology is a field which is very, very important, because each character, if they've got to flesh the character out, get the personality of the character out, the right colors there, you need to have some psychological, awareness of basic psychology. Adu illama, I don't think any movie maker can flesh a character out, whether it be a script writer or a story writer or a director, whatever. You need to have that. For the matter, an actor too. But the actor has the benefit of a director who knows something, who can kind of guide him somewhere. But the director, if he's going to be the guide, then he should know. So if he has read the book, then he can take a movie about the book, isn't it? So let him actually, and people who have taken movies about the book have read the book actually, like the Bible, right? They've actually read the Bible and then taken a movie about it. You cannot take a movie about the Bible without reading the Bible itself. So, adu pananum. And I think from our side, we already, like Mangla and I, we were talking about having a workshop for script writers. It didn't happen because of certain ego clashes from the other side, not from our side. Somebody wanted to be the leader of the group, and when we felt that person has to learn something more, it is. I mean, we were not trying to teach them anything new. This is to do with mental health. And the person konjam kashtapaduthunaru. He wanted to be the group leader, and I said, "Neenga pesunga nalla." But he wanted to talk about his ideas of mental health, which was nonsense, basically. So we couldn't really let that happen. It defeated the purpose. So we can have some sessions. We are happy to kind of have such things, workshops. I guess lots of mental health professionals are talking in various film institutes and communication media and all that places, right?
Of course. I think before making a movie on mental health, the filmmakers must ask this question to themselves: is introducing mental health into the story really relevant for the story to move forward? If it is an S, then you start doing the research for doing it. Otherwise, I think you should leave mental health out of those movies, right?
Famous last words from Dr. Bangla. So I think this was an absolutely brilliant panel discussion, and I ask the audience to sort of join me in expressing our appreciation to our wonderful panelists. So eloquent, insightful, and genuinely passionate about the work that they're all doing. So that was absolutely wonderful. So I think that let me thank SCARF once again for creating this sort of platform and opportunity for some of these issues to be debated and aired. And thank you for being a wonderful audience. We wish we could have had a more sort of an interactive session, but hopefully next year. So thank you everyone for your attention.
Sure, ma'am. Yeah. On behalf of SCARF, I would like to thank all the panelists here, and please accept a small token of our appreciation. Dr. Jaya, can you please do the honors and give it to the panelists? So what you find there is a calendar that is made with paintings of patients. So that's a calendar for 2023, which is made by service users. It's their paintings that have been put together in this calendar. I'm sure all of you will like it.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. So sorry about the delay. That came from already.
So, a very good evening for your patient audience for the panel discussion, and we are now reaching the last event of the day. Before I invite the dignitaries to the dais, may we have the prize-winning entries be screened again? I think we need the lights to be switched off.
Te veo. Veo que me evitas. Puede que te cueste, pero siempre lo consigues. Te doy todo, todo. ¿Qué hago mal? Dame algo, cualquier cosa. Sí, no sé si perdiste el interés o es que nunca lo tuviste. Y tan solo vivo de ilusiones, idiota. ¿Cómo iba realmente a interesarte? Te conozco, te he visto, a solas, vulnerable. Quiero hacer lo mismo, pero no me lo permites. ¿Qué hago mal? ¿Por qué te pregunto? ¿Acaso me conoces? ¿Me conoce alguien? Algo me falta. Me faltan respuestas. Te halago bastante, quizá demasiado. Tú me lo reclamas, aunque pueda hacerte daño y te lo hago. Claro, no siempre hago bien. No soy perfecta y parece que sin serlo ya no valgo. Y aún así lo intento. Pero si me expreso, tú me anulas como si yo hiciera mal. Y por un momento casi me convences. Infeliz, que sin mí no sabrías quién eres. Que te he dado todo, todo lo que buscabas en mí para arruinarlo sin más. ¿Cómo lo echaste a perder? ¿Cómo lo echaste a perder? Ojalá hubieras podido verte de la forma en que yo te veía. Es eso, ¿no? Dependes de mí para estar bien contigo. De que yo te apoye. Bueno. Vale. Te hace falta alguien que te ayude a conocerte. Pero no soy solo eso.
Chao, chao Manu, gracias. Chao, chao, chao. La Cari. Sí, ya. Sí, pará. Espera, espera, no se vayan. Ahí va, última. Ay. Ahí está. Gracias, gracias, gracias. Chao. Tía.
cariño. Ay, discúlpame, soy tan torpe con los cumpleaños. Bueno, mira, te debo un regalo, entonces, qué sé yo. No sé, estuve recordando mucho a tu mamá, a tu papá, pero no me acordé que era tu cumpleaños.
Tienes que comer, Carmen, por favor. Mira, te voy a contar una historia de cuando éramos más pequeñas. Pero tienes que comer, ¿vale? Cuando éramos más pequeñas, nos íbamos de vacaciones con nuestra familia a un pueblo costero. Era un pueblo muy bonito, con unas casitas blancas y azules, muy marinero. ¿Te acuerdas? Uy. Y justo enfrente de la casa donde pasábamos unos meses había una cafetería. Era una cafetería chiquita que todas las mañanas desprendía un olor a café y churros. Pero tu momento preferido para ir a la cafetería era por la tarde. Era por la tarde porque era cuando hacían el chocolate y el helado en su punto perfecto. Ni muy frío ni derretido, lo justo para que goteara por los lados y poder pasar la lengua. ¿Y tu sabor favorito? El de menta con chispas de chocolate. Siempre te lo pedías en un cono grande y tenía su motivo, porque más allá del sabor, te gustaba que cuando acababa el helado, siempre se quedaba el sabor a menta mezclado con la galleta. Y siempre, después te acercabas a la barra, te ponías de puntillo y con caritas de cordero le pedías una galletita de esas que ponen con el café al camarero. Y claro, el camarero nunca se negaba y siempre tenías tu galleta. ¿Te acuerdas qué felices éramos con esas cosas tan pequeñitas?
¿Cuándo vamos a ir a tomar helado?
Este verano podíamos ir.
Yo es que quiero ir sola,
Carmen, que yo también quiero helado, ¿eh?
pero yo no quiero ir de vacaciones con una desconocida. Hija. Hija.
Mamá.
Te recuerdo a veces y otras no. Te recuerdo en silencio, cuando grito tu nombre, cuando siento y sin pensar. Te recuerdo vagamente, como el brillo de un cristal. Te recuerdo fugazmente, como cuando una estrella roza el mar. Te recuerdo sin pensar. Y ya no estás. Y ya no estás.
J'ai passé mon temps à vous dire que je voulais être une fille quand j'étais petit.
Oui, mais... Oui. Mais on pensait que c'était une passade.
Une passade.
Mm.
Je suis quand même allé voir des psys, non?
Oui, mais... Après, c'était bon.
Non, c'était pas bon, non.
Tu vas pas recommencer avec tes histoires, là, d'électrocution, là, ces trucs-là, là, arrête avec ça.
Thérapie de conversion, maman, de thérapie de conversion.
Arrête, Simon, là, de toujours tout dramatiser.
Ouais, toi, tu préfères oublier, hein, c'est ça?
Bon, écoute, Simon, là, je
Ta
te demande
gueule,
d'arrêter.
ta gueule, je parle. C'est votre faute, donc maintenant, faut assumer, ok?
Tu trouves pas que t'en rajoutes un peu, là?
Non, vraiment pas, non.
Mais tu te rends compte de ce que tu dis?
Mais je m'en rends compte. Toi, tu te rends compte de ce que t'as fait? Hein? Et toi? Je suis adulte maintenant. Je peux faire ce que je veux. Je peux choisir d'être qui je suis, ok? Donc je demande pas votre avis.
Et alors, pourquoi tu nous parles de tout ça?
Est-ce qu'il est encore temps de me protéger? Je vais avoir besoin de vous et parce que je sais que ça va pas être facile. Donc est-ce que vous êtes avec moi aujourd'hui ou pas?
the bus goes round and
നിനക്ക് ഏത് നേരം ഇത് തന്നെയാണോ പണി? എപ്പോ നോക്കിയാലും ഒന്നും ആയില്ല ഇതുവരെ.
ഓ തുടങ്ങി.
വെച്ചു
അതാ വരുന്ന. മതി കളിച്ചത്, ബസ് വരാറായി. സമയായി, വേഗം കഴിക്കേ.
നിനക്ക് ഉപ്പ് ആരെങ്കിലും ഫ്രീ ആയിട്ട് കൊണ്ടുവന്നിട്ടുണ്ടോ? എന്നും കുറെ ഉപ്പും കലക്കൊണ്ട് വരും.
ഏയ് കുഴപ്പമില്ലല്ലോ, ഇന്ന് കറക്റ്റ് ആണല്ലോ.
എന്നാ നീ കഴിക്കും. ആ കുഞ്ഞിനെങ്കിലും ബാക്കി രുചിയായിട്ട് എന്തെങ്കിലും ഉണ്ടാക്കി കൊടുക്ക്.
ഓ, ഇവിടെ കുഞ്ഞിന്റെ കാര്യം മുഴുവൻ നോക്കുന്നത് നിങ്ങളാണല്ലോ. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് തിന്നിട്ട് അങ്ങ് എണീറ്റ് പോയാ പോരെ? എന്തേലും അറിയണോ?
ഇല്ലടി, ഞാൻ കഞ്ഞിയും വെച്ച് ഇവിടെ ഇരിക്കാം.
ആ, എന്നാ രാത്രിത്തേക്കുള്ള ഭക്ഷണം കൂടി ഉണ്ടാക്കി ഇവിടെ ഇരുന്നോ.
മോളെ, അച്ഛനമ്മയ്ക്ക് ഒരു പാട്ട് പാടിയതാടാ.
ആ, അച്ഛനും മറ്റേ മങ്കിയുടെ പാട്ട് പാടി കൊടുക്ക്. അതാവുമ്പോ നിന്റെ അച്ഛന് ചേരും.
പാട്ട് വേണ്ട, ഒരു കുന്തം വേണ്ട.
ഓ, ഇന്നത്തെ ഉറക്കവും പോയി കിട്ടിയെന്നാ തോന്നുന്നു.
നാശങ്ങള് എന്തിനാണോ ഇങ്ങനെ കിടന്ന് ബേളം വെക്കുന്നത്?
ചിലപ്പോ അവരുടെ ഫുഡിൽ ഉപ്പ് കൂടി കാണും.
Can we have the lights on, please? May I now request Dr. Padmavati, Director of SCARF, to lead the dignitaries to the dais. Aditi, please join us on the dais. I take this opportunity to welcome you all once again to Frame of Mind 2023, and I would now request Dr. Padmavati to introduce the chief guest.
Good evening to all of you. And I'm sure the past 2 hours that you have been out here today has been very invigorating. To welcome the chief guest, I don't think she needs any introduction. For the past 1 hour, we have been talking about your web series. Personally, I really enjoyed the web series, but I watched it from a point of view of just spending those 7 episodes. I must say I actually binge-watched the entire series. It was quite, it really enthralled enough to keep the attention. And as the panelists had, come out with various points of view, if you watch the movie from a relationship point of view, it really brings home the message. It brings home a sensitivity to interpersonal issues. And I think really hats off to somebody like Kritika, who is, I think, a very upcoming, I'm not really a movie watcher, but then I did maybe Google on you just before, and I found that, it's really nice to have a woman leading the show. And it was fantastic the way the sensitivity, I think, came up because of the directorial skills that she has, put forth. There's a lot to her credit, but I think what stays in the mind is what we last see. And she has a long history. She, having a very Chennai person, right? Passed out from Loyola College and has been the editor of 2013. Right? Yeah. And so, in a way, she has had a creative journey. And I think the creative journey through her life has been just improving, in leaps and bounds. And today, it's a great pleasure for us to have her amidst us, especially in this era, in this post-pandemic period when we have to be, we are dealing with a lot of mental health issues, particularly mental health issues of young people, which is of very close to her heart. At this point in time, today was the first time I'm meeting with her, but thanks to, a young colleague of hers, Ashwin, from an NGO called Cheer, who's been talking so much about her, when I realized the impact that you're making on a young mind. And that, I think, is very critical, because if you need to be not just sensitive to people around you, but making an impact on the young people of today who are, people of the citizens of tomorrow is a very important thing. And I think you really made that, Ashwin brought that message out extremely well. So I must, although he's not with us here today, I please do convey our thanks to him for, enabling us to reach you. So welcome to this gathering, and we are, delighted that you could be with us today to give away this, give away the prizes today. And we certainly hope we continue our conversations on communicating mental health. SCARF is an institution of long standing, and we definitely hope that we will continue our dialogue with you. Welcome once again, and really delighted that you are here.
Thank you very much, Dr. Padma. So it's now time. Placing the film screenings, and this we used to have a 3-day festival where we screened about 9 movies and had a panel discussion around every film. So this time, from last time onwards, we changed the format, and this time we made it even shorter. We had just one panel discussion, and we chose Paper Rocket as the topic for discussion this time instead of a movie, because last time we had House Owner made by Lakshmi Ramakrishnan, which was a very intense portrayal of a person living with dementia and her caregiver. And I thought the reach of this web series of any web series for that matter, has increased significantly post-pandemic, and they provide a better canvas for detailed presentations of concepts. Probably this is one of the first series which allowed us to bring mental health to a point of discussion in mainstream cinema. While there is no specific diagnosis, it definitely captured the mental health challenges and issues one faces during everyday life, and that makes it very relatable to everyone. And using this as a canvas, I thought it was a wonderful discussion, thanks to Dr. Jaya, Lakshmi Ramakrishnan, Priya, and Dr. Rangarajan. And coming to the competition section, this also underwent a few changes this time because we had 2 themes instead of 1. So the themes this year were physical health and mental wellness and relationships and mental health. Well, the other guidelines remained the same, and we received 52 entries, which was a little bit disappointing because last time we had about 100 responses, and the theme was more relatable for people. I mean, it touched almost everybody. It was COVID-19 and mental health. This time, out of the 52, we had 22 foreign films, of which 14 of them were from Europe, predominantly Spain, Italy, and France, 1 from Argentina, 4 from Iran, 2 from Philippines, and 1 from Bangladesh, which was the first time. And there were 28 Indian entries, mostly from the states of Maharashtra, West Bengal, Kerala, Karnataka, Telangana, Pondicherry, and Tamil Nadu. You must be wondering why we had only 4 of them shortlisted in the films that you saw here, because there were many reasons why we could not shortlist several of the Indian entries. There was a very interesting array of filmmakers as well this time. There were students of literature, commerce, visual communication, there were IT professionals, independent filmmakers, HR professionals, digital marketing executives, doctors, and there was also a dentist. And there were only 4 filmmakers, women filmmakers this time, compared to the 10 of them we had last time. The technical quality of most of the films have been very good in recent times, and we are noticing this improvement in the past 3 or 4 editions. But sadly, many films were not on either of the themes given and hence could not be shortlisted, despite technical and creative excellence. At least 5 of the entries were several minutes longer than the stipulated time and could not be considered. And what was very sad was most of them appeared like they were not specifically made for the contest. They were made for other purposes and shared here. It is encouraging to see that stereotypes were missing in the entries. There was not much of caricature presentations of mental health issues in the films, but violence, murder, and scenes detailing suicide were present in many of them, and they continue to haunt us. We had a film about mental health challenges of a trans person for the first time, what we watched now, Transition. And there was an interesting film on premenstrual symptoms, a dialogue between 2 young males about how important it is for men to be aware of their girlfriends' premenstrual issues. And it was the only film which had an element of humor in it. The rest were all very serious films. And we could shortlist 12 of them, but you would have watched 13 films here, one of which was not included for the jury, but was included here for screening. And after a very long discussion, agreements, disagreements, and finally they arrived at a consensus. And at this point, I wish to acknowledge the constant support of the jury members to FOM, Dr. Mitchell Weiss, Professor of Psychiatry in the Institute of Tropical Health and Tropical Disease and Public Health in Switzerland. He has been a part of Frame of Mind. He has been the chairperson for Frame of Mind since 2008. Ms. Lakshmi Ramakrishnan, who has also been part of the Frame of Mind ever since her film participated in it. And Mr. Chandramouli, freelance journalist, he is not here with us today, but he has also been a constant pillar of support to Frame of Mind. And Mr. Sridhar Rajan, film director, for his insightful observations both on the technical and the creative aspects of the films. And Ms. Aditi, a young and upcoming executive producer in the Tamil film industry, and she was the voice of the youth in the jury, and she will be presenting the jury's perspective to us shortly. While the task is challenging, it has always been worthwhile. If our efforts can make a small difference in the way mental health is portrayed in the media, then it is definitely worth doing it again and again. The creativity and enthusiasm of the young participants is very refreshing and encouraging, leaving us earning to continue doing this and more. So we look forward to seeing you again very soon, because we are contemplating making the short film contest an annual event from now on. And so you'll be hearing from us very soon. Thank you. I now request Aditi to present the jury's perspective of the event.
good evening, everyone. First, I'd like to thank Dr. Tara and the entire SCARF team for inviting me to be a part of this jury. I predominantly work on feature films and longer formats, and I would like to tell you all one thing. It is very, very difficult to convey an idea in a short time. To let you all in on a little secret, at the end of every film, when we all watch it, the production team, the creative team watch it, there are always lengthy discussions on how to reduce the length. So a big kudos to everyone who submitted their entries. So I happened to watch, the jury and I, we happened to watch 12 of the shortlisted films. And what we mainly looked at, as Dr. Mangala said, was the topical relevance. We found that there were not too many entries which stuck to the topic, but which were all very nice. So we also looked at the creative aspect of the films and also how they were able to convey the idea in that stipulated time. It was very nice to hear that there are lots of international entries, and I think each year the number of international entries are going up, so that's another thing. I hope to see more and more entries in the upcoming years from India. And there's another one personal, I think the way we Indians, we look at mental health and the way international people look at mental health, there is a difference. And I hope in the years to come that we can bridge that difference. So, and last but certainly not the least, I'm so happy to see one of my favorite filmmakers, and above all, one of my favorite human beings, Kritika Udaynidhi here. I take this opportunity to tell you how much I like Paper Rocket, and it's a big, big step both for women and for filmmakers. Thank you.
As a token of our appreciation for taking your time to be here, may I request Dr. Padmavati to give you a small token of our appreciation. There's a painting made by one of our artists, Satyendran, who is a very renowned artist. And to Aditi again. May I now request the chief guest to speak to us. And we have a few questions for you as well. Maybe see if you can use that.
Hello, you can hear me, right? Okay, hi, good evening. First of all, thanks to the SCARF team, to all the doctors here, to calling me here today has been a privilege and an honor, and to have a discussion on Paper Rocket means a lot to me. So I'm happy that I think when I started, when I saw the discussion happening here, the panel discussion, and a lot of ideas and what everyone took from Paper Rocket, I honestly, when I took Paper Rocket, I had only two agendas in mind. One is to write a script that meant a lot to me. It was almost like a consolation to me. Because when the idea for Paper Rocket came up, it came up from the fact that my parents are aging. They're almost close to 80. And I've always seen them as these invincible, immortal characters all my life. So when I started seeing that they are getting weaker physically and mentally, I think it kind of affected me, and I started, writing. It was kind of an outlet for me to know how I would deal with the fact that, inevitably I'll be losing my parents. So Paper Rocket was sort of a consolation to me. And I wrote it, and I kind of shelved it because at that time, web series was something that, I really didn't, I've not written a web series before, and OTT market started, picking up. So I just kept it aside, not really knowing what was going to happen until I went and told Z, and they took it up. So that was one of the reasons why Paper Rocket was personal to me. Maybe that's why you see a lot of these personal connections in Paper Rocket that I think when it released, I didn't expect. I was looking at ratings and whether the producer is going to be happy and whether the reviews are going to be good, and because I gave it my all, my team and I gave it my all. So when actually people started calling me or messaging me, connecting to it on a personal level, that's where I understood that it was so personal to me that people also connected to it personally, and all the problems that I addressed actually has happened to me. Actually, if you see that 4th episode where Karaikudi episode was exactly what was going on in my dad's family. So he's from a Chettiar community and they were fighting over property and money, and actually, surprisingly, when I was writing Paper Rocket and I was writing that particular episode, my dad and his 2 brothers and family kind of reconciled their differences and got back together after 15 years. So it was, I mean, I'm not even kidding, it happened just in this order. I'm writing, and then they call me over home because my uncles have come and they kind of, came to some terms about the property, and they got back together. So in fact, some of the places that I shot in Karaikudi is my Chittapa's mill and his house. So I think I was allowed to shoot there because we all kind of reunited again. So these are all, even the sexual abuse, when in fact my next song, I just recently shot it and I'm hoping to release it in the next 2 weeks, is about child sexual abuse. So when you're talking these topics, I realize that a lot of people come out with it. A lot of people have kind of kept it within themselves for years and years because they didn't know how to share it or they felt guilt. It came out. So with Paper Rocket, that was happening with a lot of issues, because they were all very universal issues. They were all issues that we kind of see in our own family, with our own friends. So Paper Rocket, on one hand, trying to prove myself as a director was one thing, but predominantly it was a very personal story for me. So I'm happy that today we can have a discussion here on this platform, because there's another connect for me with SCARF, which I don't think you know, ma'am, but my very close relative. In fact, she's my stepsister from Pollachi. So she was diagnosed with a mental illness, and about 18 years back, even before that, she had gone through a lot of these, I think this electric current that they do, and a lot of times you didn't know how to treat a mental ill patient. You go to the wrong hands or the wrong doctors, they give you a different kind of treatment which might actually make it worse. So she went to different treatments and she didn't get better. And then when she came to SCARF, so this morning I was asking my mother, so who was the doctor? And then I realized I was already talking to her. So Dr. Tara, I think, was an integral part on my stepsister's treatment. And she's doing extremely well now. After that is when she kind of got her life back. So that is another reason that I am very, very happy to be part of today. I think I think everyone is in agreement that mental health today has become a big issue. A lot of people don't know how to deal with it. Maybe I can start off by saying how my background and how I am with my children, or how I am with my surroundings. I hope I can at least prevent issues. So my parents were, I think for the most part, if you have a very open relationship with your children, if you have conversations, because we come from a very conservative society, a lot of taboo topics we have, about who you are, or what you want to become, or even if you are a transgender, or you are a homosexual, or you are a certain type of person, and you make choices, but you're extremely scared to tell your parents about all this because they have no knowledge of it. So I think for a big part, mental health awareness can start from home. We need to talk to children, we need to talk to parents, and we need to talk to the teachers about letting a child be, because that's when they're exploring, that's when they want to. I had a conversation with my children when both were roughly around 8 years, that you know what homosexuality is, you know what transgender or transsexuality. I had a detailed conversation with them. And I told them, it's completely fine whatever you want to be. You can make whatever choice you want. This house is like completely, like accepting of whatever you want to be. So that I think I'm giving two messages to them. So one is that they need not be afraid when they come back home, because a lot of times when we go out into this world, there are so many things that waiting for us. We have our insecurities, we have our fears. But when the children come back home, I think there should not be any fear whatsoever. So from that, I think I gave them two messages. That first of all, they need not be afraid to be who they are, outside or at home. And secondly, I think by telling them that it is completely acceptable and it is fine, when they go out and when they are going to meet people who have different preferences, they're not going to make fun, or they're not going to be ignorant, or they're not going to react differently. They're going to be extremely normal in that situation. So this is one way of normalizing things that we like to think is different. So I think that's one thing. And I think another thing nowadays, when I have like friends or people talking about problems, I tell them, go to the gym, hit the gym, or do yoga, or do meditation. They're like, I'm talking about some other issue, and what are you talking about? I say no, but when you're physically, when you're active and you're working out, and it's also, I think, with your biologically and physically, when you see, you are going to secrete happy hormones. And when you're going to secrete happy hormones, you're going to make good decisions in life. You're going to be more tolerant. You're going to be more pleasant. So all these, I feel like mentally and physically, we seem to be disconnected for some reason. We are not too connected with ourselves. I see that, yeah. So I think we're living in a very peripheral, lifestyle. We're in the rat race. We think what our kids should study, how we should save money, what we should do, but there is no internal reflections at all. So I think that could help a lot. So I'm just voicing out. I'm sure I might be. I'm not professional, this thing. And I would really, that was a very good point, that a filmmaker is responsible when you're talking about, a certain issue without doing thorough research. You should not. So I believe in that. So for the most part, you can still do it. But when we are telling it in a film format or a web series format, if you see documentaries, they are a different format. They stick to the facts and what you need to say. But when you're doing it in an entertainment format, you have to get a larger audience to see what you're saying. So yeah, we do tend to take cinematic liberties there. But again, that has to be responsible. So for the most part, we try that, but sometimes we still might fail in that. So I did a transgender music video 5-6 years back with Ashwin. So when you're talking about Ashwin, actually, I must tell you this, ma'am. I'm a great admirer of him, because he is a very young person who just does unimaginable things, very selfless things for people, goes out on the streets and does a lot of things that even, I don't do it. I just kind of, give him certain jobs to get it done, because I can't do it. So, I was very motivated by him. So when we did the transgender video, we went to a lot of homes. We visited 30 transgenders, and we had a talk to them. And it was such a painful experience for me to just sit and listen to them, like what they went through when they were kids. I think, like you say, these are all things that we do get sensitized, and I feel all of us should do that. We should talk about subjects that we think are taboo. We should sit as a family and look at each other and see if something is going on in their lives, and ask them if are you okay today? And we should, I think there is no protection from social media, because that's going to be the thing. There are good things and bad things, but you also see the youth today are getting very influenced, a lot of negative things going on in the social media. So I think we can't keep them away from it, but we can at least tell them how to balance things. Because a lot of times there is hate, and then you see, even simple things like cosmetic surgery today. Today, beauty is defined by cosmetic surgery. So if a child sees a video of the surgery and this type of person being beautiful, they are going to get influenced to go get it done. So there is no protection to it, but these are things that constantly I think we need to keep talking to the generation, make it a discussion in schools and colleges. So, so anyway, thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. I'm really, really privileged. And thank you, Dr. Tara, and I think you guys are doing a wonderful job here. So thanks.
I think if you can take just a couple of questions. So was there a mental health? Yeah, please, you should. Yeah, you can use this. So one of the first questions that came up was, how did you conceptualize Tiger's character?
So again, you know, you read news about suicide, or you see videos about suicide, and you try to figure out why do they do that, because suicide doesn't happen only, you know, because people don't have certain things. There are people who commit suicide when they have everything. They have fame and they have, you know, money and family, and still they go ahead and commit suicide. So actually, it sometimes can be very difficult to know what's going on in a person's mind. So actually another thing, you know, as a filmmaker, when you are trying to stay true to certain facts, and when you come across a producer who says, no, keep it like this, keep a backstory like that, so it actually becomes very difficult, it's very conflicted. So in this case, in particular, Tiger's character, so I had a team saying, oh, we should have a backstory on why he wanted to commit suicide. And there was another team and myself thinking, but why there are a lot of times when we don't know the reason. Even the person who is having those thoughts do not know the reason. So we should let people know Tiger is a character that, in fact, I think every human a person on this planet might have, you know, like those depressing thoughts or those low thoughts. So that is what I was trying to connect. But actually, like I said, when you think more of yourself and you know what's going on inside, there are chances of you having this, you know, not preventing those thoughts from happening. So it's a very abstract character. Yeah.
So was there a mental health professional who was involved in the making of this?
Yes, ma'am. I spoke to a few psychiatrists. So if you see my the person with the glaucoma, so those are all stuff that I got. I took down the research, and I have a friend's husband who passed away for the same reason. And so actually a lot of characters are characters that have also been in real life in my this thing. So the sexual abuse person is somebody that I know, like, you know, a lot of my friends, like almost it's really they go through, and they are affected for the rest of their adult life. So that is something that I've already known people of having. So Tiger is one character. I spoke to a few psychiatrists to see what kind of, you know, illnesses come to them, and I read up on a few of those. Yeah.
I think you touched upon relationships in the web series, and you touched upon the importance of physical health and mental wellness in your talk now. Thank you very much for that wonderful talk. And I think it's time now to announce the prizes which we are waiting for. So may I request Kritika madam to give away the prizes. Madam, before you actually start giving the prizes, we have to say that since some of the entries are from outside the country, they are not available in person. The prizes and the certificates will be sent to them a little later. So someone from SCARF will collect it from you on their behalf. So 2 movies have been chosen by the jury for a special mention: Asymmetrica and Transition. The third place is shared by two films, Laura by Paulina Torres from Argentina, a female director, and Smile by Abhi Krishna from Kerala. Abhi Krishna is not here, and a member of his team is here to receive the prize on his behalf. So would you like to say a few words? It's okay. There is a place to start. You can start here.
Good evening, all of you. Actually, I'm a bit nervous. Due to some reason, this person, Abhi Krishna, he's my closest friend, and we have worked with a lot of short films and we have worked in a lot of short movies and awareness advertisements. But I haven't been here at the time of shooting this Smile. So due to some reasons, he could not come, and I am here to collect the award. I am so delighted to see you all, and thanks. All thanks goes to Frame of Mind for having me here. Thank you so much.
The second place goes to Phone Call, directed by Direct B. Cebu from Philippines. And the first place goes to Te Recuerdo, I Remember You, by Jeronimo Calero Gonzalez from Spain. I hope I pronounced it right. And with that, thank you, madam. Please sit down. And with that, we have come to the end of the event now. So it's now my pleasant duty to thank everyone who has contributed to the success of Frame of Mind this time. And as I always believe, no duty is more urgent than returning thanks. So I stand here not to say a simple thank you, but to recall all the help and support that a lot of people have given us to reach where we are today. So let me start by thanking our chief guest, Ms. Kritika Udayanidhi, for accepting our invitation at a short notice and taking the time out to be with us today despite her heavy schedule, and for also allowing us to have a nice discussion on her web series and taking questions from that. I think here I should also thank Mr. Ashwin, who helped us to get the chief guest for the event today. I think next I must thank the wonderful panelists who readily accepted our invitation and where they provided us with some thought-provoking, interesting discussion. Dr. Jaya, Dr. Rangarajan, Lakshmi Ramakrishnan, and Priyadarshini Rajkumar. Thank you all. And my thanks is due to Dr. Mitchell Weiss, the psychiatrist from Swiss Tropical and Public Health Institute from Switzerland, who continued to help us with Frame of Mind by watching the movies and sharing his ratings with the jury, and Mr. Chandramouli, freelance journalist, Lakshmi Ramakrishnan, and Mr. Sridhar Rajan and Aditi, who were part of the jury and helped us with arriving at a consensus about choosing the winners. And each jury meeting has been a learning experience for us at SCARF, especially for me, to understand the various technical aspects of filmmaking. I really enjoyed the discussion that many of you had around some of the film entries, and honestly, your explanations made me understand some of the movies better. And the media has always been a great source of support for publicity in FOM, and we thank all our friends in the media, in the print and in the print media especially, who have helped us to spread the word about Frame of Mind, especially the Hindu. And I also thank all those people at SCARF and outside SCARF who helped sharing the information on social media and helped us to reach out to a large number of people. And if the jury had some work to do, it was because of all the entries that we received. So I'm honored to, it's my duty to thank all of those people who sent in their entries for the contest. In any contest, there has to be some winners and some losers. And so for those of you, I think all of you had made wonderful films. It's just that one person was chosen over you. That doesn't mean the film was not good. We enjoyed watching all the entries that were submitted. And we appreciate all those efforts that you have made, and please keep up the good work and continue supporting SCARF. I think this year we had an entry from a couple, husband and wife, and the husband was one of our winners in the previous years. Both their films were shortlisted here. And I must thank all my colleagues at SCARF for contributing in many ways to make this event happen seamlessly and very, very smoothly here today, this evening. And I thank the management and the staff of Music Academy for providing us with both good support and providing us with the auditorium, and everything went well this far. And a special thanks is due to Mr. Narayanan of Spark Communication, who is our technical partner today, who has helped us with all the banners and the posters and also with the live streaming of the event. And no function is complete without a good audience. I think we have had an excellent, very participative and a very involved audience here who have made this event even a better success. And yeah, so this vote of thanks will be incomplete if I do not thank a few people specifically. I think my first thanks Shruti Mohan, the communications executive of SCARF, for her there was that puny girl sitting there. Can't find her. Okay, it was not just her technical expertise, her ability to plan, her creativity, and her involvement in making the whole event. She put it together beautifully. And thank you, Shruti. Your contribution is highly valuable. Oh, you're here. Right. Yeah, that is Shruti. Right. And I also have to thank Tejas and Aravind, two young and dynamic anchors for today who have been very enthusiastic and very supportive, and they took a lot of pressure off me. Right? And there are a few other people whom I should mention, especially Subhashni, her usual cool, unruffled, the confidence she gives us because of her unruffled nature, and so beautifully executing things that are in need. And to each and every one of you here who has contributed in one way or other for the success of FOM, just remember, you have made a difference, and I have no words to say other than thank you, thank you, thank you. We will see you soon in another edition.
I think before we end, we must applaud Mangala for the leadership she has shown. And I mean, without an idea, a process cannot be created. And I think thanks to Mangala 10 years ago, when she thought about this and has kept it gone consistently, I think that's the credit that goes to her. So well done, Mangala, and please continue the good job.